Hello, this is a tutorial video for Independence University. Today we are going to go over the Associate Dean Professional Email, one of your Week 2 assignments. The first thing you'll want to do is bring up your classroom. It's going to be for CSS 101, Psychology of Motivation. You should see a home screen that looks like this page. There are two ways for us to open up this assignment that we're going to work on today. First, you can go down underneath week 2 and click on this last assignment. If I hover over it, it'll tell me which assignment this is. It'll bring up a little box for me. It says week 2 assignment, Associate Dean Session Plan. Or I can go over, my favorite way, to modules and click there. And it's going to break out all of my weeks with everything I need for them. So if I go down to week 2, I can click on the week 2 assignment, Associate Dean Professional Email. So I'm going to go ahead and open that. So here's our instructions for this assignment. You'll want to read over these in detail. It's going to go over everything that you'll need for the assignment. The second place I always recommend going is to your instructor's lecture. Your instructor is always going to give the best explanation of what they expect on this assignment. So if you haven't watched their lecture yet, please stop this video and go watch the lecture and then come back, and if you need more help on this assignment, go ahead and watch this. In week 3 of this course, you will be assigned an associate dean who is an expert in the field of which you are studying. They will be assigned to you throughout your entire program. So unlike your admissions consultant and your student advisor and your financial planner that you've been working with, these people work with you more at the beginning of your courses, whereas your associate dean will be with you throughout your entire program. You can use them as a source to network, to help find a job, to be a mentor, a reference when you go to apply for new jobs. So this is someone that you'll want to create a great relationship with. To start off this relationship with your associate dean on the right foot, you want to write them a professional email, and that's what we're doing in this assignment. So your instructor has actually given you an example to look at. So if I scroll down in the instructions, down here near the bottom, it says, for an example, see the professional email helpful hint. So I'm just going to click on it, and we'll open that up and take a look at it. So I'm going to click open. And there it is. We'll put that full screen so you can see it. So this is a great example of what your letter should look like. This didn't open it in a Microsoft Word document. It opened it up as a PDF, and we want to make sure that we're using either Microsoft Word or Google Docs to create our professional email. So once you look at this example, you want to go and open a Microsoft Word document. So there's a couple ways that you can go and do that. You can just open up Microsoft Word. You can go to your APA template. I can go here and I can search my programs and type in Microsoft Word. And this brings up a nice Microsoft Word document for me where I can go in and start typing. So let's go back to our example that I have open up down here. So the content is really up to you of what you're going to put into your professional letter. There are a couple criteria that are required, but for the most part, what you want to say to your associate dean, what you want to ask them, what you want to share with them, you want to make it your own. You want to make sure that it relates to you, and don't copy exactly what this is saying, because you might not be in the graphic design program. You might not be interested in various forms of art, so make sure that you're telling them as it relates to you. It does need to be at least 2 paragraphs. This is about 5 to 7 sentences per paragraph, so keep that in mind as you're writing. And remember, you are writing an email which is set up similar to a letter, so there are some things that we need to include at the top. So the first thing you need to include is the date. You're just going to put the date that you write it, so whatever that date is. If you write it today, go ahead and put today's date. And then second line, we're going to put who it's to. And so I know you're only in week 2 right now, and you might not know who your associate dean is. So for example, they put associate dean John Smith. If you don't know who your associate dean is, and you probably won't know until next week, that's just fine. So you can go ahead and just write to Associate Dean, and that's just fine. And then again down here, just like a letter, again, you're going to put Dear, and then if you know your dean, put the name of your dean, or put Dear Associate Dean. Next week, when you are assigned your Associate Dean and you actually need to send this email, you're going to want to replace Dear Associate Dean with the name of your Associate Dean, and I'll explain that a little bit more in a minute. So again, here's where you would start the content of your assignment. This example has 4 paragraphs. And then remember, in the body, you must include your name and the program that you are in. But don't limit yourself to just that. Share some of your goals and dreams. Show them who you are. The next paragraph, after you tell them who you are, you want to include information of how you can set up a meeting with your associate dean. So include your schedule of availability and how you would like to be reached. Some associate deans will set up large conferences with many students at once. Others will do a personal phone call. Tell them what your preference is, if you like phone calls, emails, how often, whether it's once a week, once a month, every other month. You know, they'll want to check in with you as much as possible. Don't forget to ask them some questions. That's kind of how you'll want to end your email. You can learn a lot from your dean, so utilize them. There are some example questions on the instruction page, so be sure to include some of those. So let's go back to our instruction page. So down here on number 4, remember 2 paragraphs, your goals, and then click here for some example questions. So let's go ahead and click on that. You can open. So down here are some questions to ask your dean. What are the courses like in this program? What is it like working in the field? What other things can I do while attending school to increase my chances of being hired by a company when I graduate? So take a look at those. You can use any or all of them, but be sure to include some of your own questions. So don't just use these. You want to include 1 or 2 questions of your own. And then you'll want to put those at the bottom. And then the last thing that's really required on the instructions is for you to put some sort of thank you message at the end. Remember, this is a professional email. This is to a professional person, so you want to be as polite as possible. You don't want to abbreviate using text lingo like LOL or, you know, abbreviations for things. So make sure that it's very professional. And then once you've thanked them, at the end you're going to put your sign off sincerely, put thank you and then a comma and then your name. And then you'll want to include your contact information. That way, whatever you said would be best to contact you, they know how and when to contact you. So you'll include that information at the bottom here. The very last step is for you to save your document. So say I was done, I put who it was to, and then I typed in my 2 paragraphs, and then I put my name at the bottom. And my name is Tiffany Watts. I'm one of the student advisors. And then I put my phone number. So if I was done and ready, I had typed up my paper, I would just go up here to File, Save As, and now I'm going to save it. So I probably want to name it Associate Dean Email. And then the Save As type is really important because it needs to be saved as either a .doc or a .docx or an RTF. So if it's being saved as a Word document, that's a .docx, and so that's going to be acceptable. So I'm just going to go ahead. I know that I'm saving it in my documents, so I'm going to hit save. And now when I'm ready to submit my assignment to the classroom page, this is all that I need to do. So I have it typed up in a Microsoft Word document. I'm going to go back to my classroom, and I don't see this because I'm an administrator, but up in the top right hand corner you're going to see a submit button, and it's just like how you submitted your APA paper template, so you should be familiar with that. If you have questions, contact your student advisor. They can help you submit it. So now that you've completed this assignment, I'm going to show you what you'll need to do to actually send this email to your associate dean. Like in the instructions, you won't be assigned to your associate dean until the beginning of week 3. And so if you're on Monday of week 2, if it's Friday of week 2, you still don't know who your associate dean is, that's fine. But by the beginning of week 3, you're going to find their contact information and send off the email to them. So just make sure that you save that document that we submitted and that you can go and email your associate dean later on. So say now it's week 3, it's Monday, and you're ready to send off your email. To find out who your associate dean is, your instructor will be posting a list of the associate deans in the announcements section. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the announcements in our classroom. Now I'm going to look for the announcement that tells me that there's a list of the associate deans for my section. So if I go down, it's right here. So yours might look a little bit different. This is how Stacy has posted her list. So if I click on it, sometimes they'll have it listed here. Other times they'll have a document that you'll need to click on and open, but the list will look the same. So what you're going to do is scroll down and you're going to find your name. And once you find your name, across is going to be your program, who your program coach or associate dean, that's the same thing. Their name is going to be listed right down here in this column. Their phone number will be included as well as their email address. So to get their email address and to start your email, I'm just going to open up a fresh new email. So here's my email. I'm going to put in my associate dean's email address. So I'm going to copy this email, or I'm going to write it down. So if I write, and I can just copy it, I'm going to paste it right in the 2. And now I'm ready to email my associate dean. But now I need to include that letter that I had already written. So let's open up that letter. Oh, that's the example questions. Okay, so remember your letter is going to have 2 paragraphs. Mine is a little lacking. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to highlight it, and I'm going to copy. And I'm just going to paste it right in here. And so you should have your beautiful written letter already out there. And then the last thing, remember how if you didn't know who your associate dean was, you had to or dear associate dean. Now, since we know that the associate dean that I chose was Matthew Thomas, I can go in and I can put Matthew Thomas. And if you want, you can type out their whole name, or you can just put in Mr. Thomas, however you'd like. Just make sure that it's professional. And then in the subject line, you want to make sure that it's also professional and it's going to be something that'll catch their eye. Keep it professional though. I might say introduction for CSS 101 and then my name so that they know who this email is coming from. Okay, and then I would go ahead and the last thing that you want to make sure that you do to make sure your instructor knows that you've reached out to your associate dean is I'm going to include my instructor on this email. So on my email, I have this little CC column, and that means that I'm going to carbon copy my instructor on the email. So it's not to my instructor, but they're copied on it so that they can see the email. So to find out my instructor's email, if you don't know where to go, you'll want to go, because my instructor that I've chosen is Stacy McKenzie. If I go to my home in my classroom and go to instructor bio, there's her picture and here's her email, and I can just highlight that, right click, copy, and then I can go ahead and paste it here. And again, if you don't know how to copy and paste, you can always go and just type in their email by hand. Okay, so I've got my associate dean, my instructor, my letter is pasted in there, and then I have this double sign off, so I would just erase that. So here's my letter, and I would go and I would send it. I'm not going to send it because this isn't my actual letter to Matthew Thomas. I don't want them to be confused. So you would go ahead, you'd click send, and off it would go. And that's the very end of this assignment. In week 4, you're going to have an assignment that I want to show you. Scroll down, and it's the week 4 assignment Associate Dean report. So this is why we're emailing our Associate Dean during week 3, because we want to make contact with them as soon as possible, because we need to speak with them, email with them, so that we have information on how to write this paper. This paper is worth 100 points, so you want to make sure that you're making contact with your Associate Dean as soon as possible. That way you can have content to include on your paper, because it does need to be 300 to 500 words. So remember, week 3, as early as you can, send that email to your Associate Dean so that you can get in contact with them. If you have any other questions on this assignment, please contact your student advisor, or you can always go to the Student Success Center by clicking on the home page, Student Success Center, and you can access them there and enter. They'll be able to help you, find out who your Associate Dean is, help you write your letter. They can edit it for you if you have any questions. Remember, you want it to stay professional. That is all that I have for you, so if you need anything else, contact your student advisor. Other than that, go ahead and get started and have a great day.